He is a veteran course designer.
Borderlands game. Is there a conscious effort on your part to kind of have more of that like emergent storytelling between characters?
I would say there's just more story to this game in a lot of ways than we've ever done before.
Yeah.
You know, and funny that you mentioned along with story, we've used the word vaults instead of vault this time because, you know, we're going to unlock vaults. So we have these massive boss battles.
Option where I can see exactly what the controls are for the game style.
There's always a story for like why we're going to the vault, but there's, you know,
it's a great place to get familiar, but also we have these maker lessons. And Tezuka-san, I wonder if you can tell us a bit more about this new way of educating the players. It's a little different from the tutorials in the original game.
In Borderlands, a lot of people play it as a co-op game. And when you're playing with your friends, you know, one person's going over here, one person's doing that, this person's turning in a quest, this person's starting a fight with the boss. You know, we have to always be aware that our players like to play like that. So what I think we've innovated and we've iterated on how we tell the story, and we've definitely we spend a lot more time on animation and on scenes and on character. We haven't taken that freedom away from the players. You talk about kind of a secondary pillar, but that kind of freedom, to explore and play the game the way you want, is really important to us, and we want to be sure that the story should enhance your experience and never pull away from it.
Right, and you know, we have an entire animation team that's, you know, they've been more active with more cinematics than ever before, right? So there are lots of cinematic moments, and some of those are the most, like, I would say, I don't know if you call it tug on your heartstrings moments.
There's some big moments.
Yeah.
There's some big moments in this
We'll
game.
get some of that in.
So for a series that's known for its over-the-top, bombastic fare, what is the limit? What is the thing that maybe wouldn't work?
Is there a limit?
I'm the wrong person to ask what the limit is. No, there is obviously, like, we want to, like, push. I don't know how to say, like, you don't want to be crude, but you want to be just. It's almost more like risque at some level. And I mean, I did just talk earlier today about a gun called butt plug, so this is not a good time to, you know, really think about that. But that might be the limit, right? It's hard to know what it is that is the limit, but we know it, and we also, I think, if we talk about a limit of how we respect our characters, like, we can't just have a character just do goofy stuff because of goofy stuff. We worked really hard on the tone in this game to fit it between BL1's tone and BL2's tone, and really get that market of, like, there's a lot of serious, cool things that happen, but also there's still an incredible amount of playfulness, especially in our side missions.
Yeah, I would use the word range rather than limit, right? Limit's a weird word. You talk about, like, what you're talking, but range. I think the cool thing about Borderlands is we are able to explore a range of topics. We absolutely have the absurd. I mean, we have shirtless, masked bandits that are going around at you and scream "meat bicycle," but at the same time, you know, if you look at, like, Borderlands 2, we had Tiny Tina and Assault on Dragon's Keep DLC, where you actually have, in the course of a D&D game, Tina exploring the loss of a friend, a really serious issue through kind of a humorous way, but that mix of humor and silliness and absurdity all together works, and I think makes the game really endearing, and lets us put characters on the table that are very relatable to our players.
It's funny seeing Borderlands 3 and, like, seeing all the, and, like, thinking about all the changes you could have made the last 7 years. It kind of, like, retrospectively makes Borderlands 2 seem even more impressive for how ahead of its time it might have been, and especially with so many, like, shooters going, like, down the roads where, like, oh, now we have raids in it. Like, you had those massive endgame bosses in Borderlands 2 already. It's like you already adopted that MMO style for a shooter before anybody else, and, like, now with Borderlands 3, it's kind of seeing it come full circle, I'd say.
Yeah, there's you know, there was, I will say, there was definitely pressure when we first started. People were saying things like, hey, well, can you put a hub in here? Can you put a social hub in here? Like, how are you going to do that? You know, we want people to get into the action really fast with their friends, and a menuing system works well. So a lot of the things that were set up by BL2 are still great convenience features for people today, and I think that's a really big part of what we're trying to do, is make sure you get into the action. Level syncing, you know, where we don't care if somebody's like 50, you know, level 50 and you're level 20. We want you to just be able to jump in and play together. So we sync those levels with those players and make sure that anybody can play together with their friend at any time that they want to.
What would you say is the biggest challenge you had to face when approaching Borderlands 3?
It's the mix of the new and the old. You kind of started the interview with it, right? We want to be sure to keep the game fresh and exciting and new story and new characters and new polish and new guns and all that. But those pillars, those things that are the heart of the franchise, are very, very important to us, and very important, even more to us, important to our fans. Right. And we want to be sure that we have done the best job we can to honor the heart of Borderlands and to keep the spirit of what that game is and what people have fallen in love with. Like you said, people are still buying and playing the game 7 years later. A lot of people, a lot more than we've ever expected. And we are so thankful for that. So we definitely want to watch that and observe that while giving them something new that's going to surprise and delight them in ways that they haven't seen before. So that's the challenge. And I think we got it.
Yeah, player expectation. There's no hesitation. Our answer is the hard one. You know, it's being true to that, and still, like, our whole job is just to get people in and have fun.
That's right.
That's what we want people to do, and so player expectation is hard. You know, that everybody's going to be entertained different ways, but we tried to stay true to the series and still make the right decisions for what's going to make this the next Borderlands game.
Perfect. Paul, Randy, thank you so much for joining us.
Our pleasure.
And if you're watching along at home, you won't want to go anywhere, because up next, we've got Final Fantasy VII Remake. Stay tuned.
セットするときは
「